Yeah, that looks like a bug. We'll solve that. I think we're live. We'll start off in a bit. We're gonna start in another 1 minute. Got it. So, hello and a warm welcome to everybody present here. I am Anisha and I'm going to be the MC for today. Before we start off, to all the attendees over here, we'd love to know you. So, if you have a small business, if you have a big business, you can plug in your website details over here. We'd love to see it. You can also plug in your Instagram handles over here. We'd love to know you. So, we have a lot of websites coming in. Keep them coming. Got it. So this masterclass is about increasing conversions during the festive season. We'll understand how to make the most out of Google as a platform during this festive season. Before we start off, we want to understand your requirements better. So we'd start off with a poll of questions. The poll would be launched on your screen right now. We'll have to know some basic details about you. Got it. So we've closed the poll now. We can start off. And without further ado, among the panelists, we have Nitin Garg, who's the Senior Agency Account Manager from Google India team. We have Vishal, who's the Agency Partnership Manager from the Google India team. So over to you guys now.
Great. Thank you so much, Anisha. Thank you so much for inviting us for this event. Glad that people have actually made time for this event. So thank you so much for that as well. And in the next 40-45 minutes, the major idea we would like to cover together is not really a lot of product information or not a lot of information around some of the technology adoption that is happening across, but we definitely want to leverage this time to understand two things. Number one, what kind of paradigm shift are we observing across? And number two, how can we capitalize it with respect to our businesses? I think that's the simple theme. And as we progress into this, what we can probably do beyond this is connect one-on-one or maybe reach out through the agency to us, and then we can take it from there with respect to some of the details which we present today. So that is what I had to present. And before I begin and probably moving to the next slide, uh, you know Uh, Whether we are window shopping, we are searching a photograph online, or we are just scrolling through our mobile phones at any point of time. Uh, it is absolutely uncommon to say that there is nothing that is inspiring us. So in a way, every time we are connecting with digital at any point of time, right, there is something that is inspiring us all the time, right? And that inspiration is largely of, I want to have it kind of an attitude, right? People look for uh, something which they see, something which they observe, even irrespective of whether they are online to buy anything or no. There is always an inspiration that exists. And now, keeping that in mind, right, people today, they are not looking at the price come into the picture when they're buying their product. So at any point of time, if the inspirations are high, they don't let the pricing of the product come into picture. And that is where we have seen a huge surge when it comes to search queries like, I want a product like, or I want a brand like, or I want a product something similar to. So if I give you some of the statistics, I want a product like, or I want a brand similar to, kind of a search queries have grown by 60% over a period of 1 year. Now that gives us a very clear cut picture that when it comes to inspiration and when it comes to buying a product, right, people look at alternatives of getting that product online, right? And that is where, some of the brands in the room today need to really understand the story that people would look for you in your form or the other. They are searching and there is a search pattern. Are we capitalizing on that is where I want to definitely start with. And, moving from here, thank you for the next slide, please. Yeah. What we have observed, eventually, right, and, keeping the pandemic in mind, that there is a very, very minor yet a behavioral change in terms of how shoppers look at product. And you know uh, if you look at the consumer journey today, right, we call it as that consumers today or buyers today, they are more demanding. They want data to be very, very relevant, and they want personalization when you're actually targeting them. Now, keeping that in mind, the kind of shifts we have seen, and starting with uh, you know people welcoming new brands. And one of the statistics shows that about 50% of the consumers are ready to actually look at new brands or try new brands, irrespective of whether they have tried it or not. So, keeping that story in mind, I think people have become much more open to trying some of the new brands. And above all these users want that product at convenience. So convenience has taken an upper slab with respect to the price of the product versus convenience. So convenience has gone up. That we need to keep in mind. Uh, Number two, how you reach out to them. And I think the story today is that we need to really capitalize on two things. Uh, Starting with, I think we need to understand what kind of behavior are we seeing with respect to the internet consumption. So that's number one. And number two, because video consumptions is going high, what kind of storytelling are we adopting to actually communicate what our brands want to communicate? So that, let's keep that in mind as a point. And number three, very clearly, people need experience. And because a lot of people are not really walking out, or not a lot of people are looking at, look and feel of a product, they want to have a very, very similar experience when they are buying the product online. So can we keep that in mind as what the slides cover? And moving on, next slide, please. Covering our first point, right? More than 50% of the consumers bought a product or brand store which they have never shopped at. Now, is that a good thing for all of us? Is that a bad thing? I think that we need to develop from a story standpoint, so that, once we become a relevant brand for a user, we do have to retain that client and maintain the retention of that specific client. But at the same time, we need to look at new audience, and that is where the opportunity for us is very high. 65% of the Indians says they went online to buy a product previously bought in store, which means that people are looking at experiences and creating same kind of a buying model which they used to buy at some point of time. Next slide, please. Now, here are some of the numbers. I definitely want to probably throw this as a question to the audience if we had time, but anyone, if you want to guess what is 55 billion at this point of time, the number, what that number depicts? If there are answers, you can tell me, otherwise we can, quickly move from here. All right, I think we'll move. We see some answers, okay. All right, so I saw some of you writing the total e-commerce market, and that's the right answer. $55 billion is the total e-commerce market for India in 2021. Now, that's one number to look at, but what is important for us here to observe is that number 40. And that tells you that almost 40 million new users have been added to the new buyer list. Now, this is the number we have seen after 2020 pandemic. However, the growth trajectory from here would be on the surge of about 7% year on year, which means we are looking at higher number. In fact, what we are looking at is a total number of, in fact, to give you some statistics, we'll have about 200 million users by 2022, which means we are looking at a great trajectory of the number of new users you're adding to the portfolio. What is 25? Most of the people in the country used to make a payment offline or used to make it physically in terms of cash. We have seen a paradigm shift where people overall of total payment they're making, 25% of those transactions are actually happening online for e-commerce. Now that's a huge number and worth capitalizing. And that last number 110, that represents the market we would see. So we are at $55 billion at this point of time. By 2025, we'll be about $110 billion, which means we are looking at a 2x trajectory growth in the next 3 years. Opportunity for us, yes or no, we can decide. Now, coming back to our second point, which is people looking at and engagement, looking at relevancy in the kind of communication they see. And very importantly, if you look at the consumption of video, which is at the surge at any point of time like never before, people are making their choices very, very clearly on the platforms like YouTube. And if you see some of the numbers, right, online shopping videos have grown by 90%. Finance videos have grown 2x, which look to be a very dicey platform when it comes to the kind of secrecy people maintain or the kind of communication they want to see. But we have seen 2x surge there. And then home related videos have gone 2x increase, which means from an opportunity standpoint, right, people are looking at, sorry for that. So from a relevant standpoint, we know that people are looking at a platform and they are seeking that platform because that is the platform that not only solves for their questions, it solves for their experience and it solves for their engagement, right? So the engagement, the question and the communication, all three patterns are solved specific platform. And we can talk about YouTube at depth when we take a deeper presentation, in the future in a one-on-one setup. Moving on. Any guesses again, very quickly, or we can probably jump to numbers. So we have 500, which means our total internet user at this point of time is 500. Though this is a published number, the number is much higher if you look at some of the articles in the ecosystem. But as per Google, the published number is about 500 million internet users. Out of 500, 450 million users are actually using smartphones. Now, what is that depicting is that the experiences are moving to a handheld device, and the personalization of what people looking at is what it is covering here. So keeping that number in mind, in fact, one third, which is the other number, that is the total number of users consuming video content online. So, I mean, if you look at the chronology, it depicts a very clear story that we are seeing a surge in the internet users. We are seeing the mobile penetration is going high. Data rates are getting cheaper with time. Mobile handset costs are going down, which calibrates to about one third of the user consuming video almost every day. What is triple V? It's a very simple formula which talks about video, voice, and vernacular. And from a internet user consumption perspective, people are using voice technology for their searches. They are using video to solve their queries with respect to the product they want to buy. And vernacular is the next big go-to thing. And I mean, there's no rocket science. Two of the five new internet users who are coming online, they're coming from small cities or towns rather, which means that vernacular, which is the local language, would take a higher effect compared to English as a content. And from a projection standpoint, anticipated to have about 900 million internet user, which is the bottom row. If you see the numbers there, we are expected to have 900 million internet users by 2025. 2 out of 5 new users are actually coming in from small town, and 33, and that number shows that your total internet population, right, only 33% of the total audience come from the top 9 metros, which means that from a growth perspective or from a range perspective or from a reach perspective, there is a huge opportunity to reach out to user who are sitting outside of these 9 cities or 9 metros at this point of time. So that is from a number standpoint. And we'll move to the third point, which is what kind of experiences people are looking for, right? And while shopping online, what people look at is digital payments, flexible payment options, prices, what kind of discounts are we running, so on and so forth. However, what is the relevancy for us to hear, and what is the takeaway out of all this, where the actual revenue would flow in, is what in our next slide. Uh, so the total digital payment market at this point of time for India is about 20 lakh crore. The total number of transactions happening digitally, 60% of that is, payment digitally made, which means that people are, at one point of time, they were reluctant to make online payments. Now it has, after digital India and lockdown, we have experienced that people have become much more open to making transactions online, right? This growth, 20 lakh crore, is likely to go 4x in next 5 years. In fact, next 3 years now, we are already in 2022. So next 3 years, it will go 4x. 52, which is merchant payment, are staggered to grow by 2025 in the merchant payment segment is about 52% versus mobile payments, which are made, and the growth expected there is about 58%. So where can we capitalize this data on when we are actually building our strategy for e-commerce? These aspects can be kept in mind. And we need to see how that makes the user and the seller successful at that point of time. Some of the case studies, I'll not spend a lot of time here, but people have adopted to some of our smart technologies, automation technologies, and some of our niche products to capitalize on ROAS. They have built a digital strategy specifically to increase, at one point of time, to increase the website traffic, but they have seen a humongous conversion rate improvement in their brand sales as well. We can talk about some of the case studies as and when we move to individual brands and specific to verticals we are working with. But these are some of the successes we have seen, the early successes we have seen in last 12 months. Moving on, I think this is a slide more to ponder. We are looking at becoming the third largest economy, and what that would mean eventually is that people would go more digital, and people will find more relevance in the kind of engagement they have developed now. can we capitalize on that is what we need to really think of. And from with respect to our GDP and with respect to the way digital has shaped over a period of time, I think we need to amalgamate both and build a story for our communication to the audience. Now, what Google is, and I'll very quickly hand it over to Nitin as well. But to give you some context on this slide, and forget slide. I think the idea is to let you know that because the engagement of the user at this point of time happens on different platforms at different levels, and there's something called as micro moment, which defines when a user actually wants to buy a product. You're standing in the rain and suddenly your umbrella goes, uh, you know uh, it's not functioning. What you typically do is you search for an umbrella store nearby, and that's a micro moment. Idea is that if you're an umbrella seller, are you capitalizing on this micro trend or no, is what we really, need to build upon as a story. And winning shopping specifically, and because it will go more complex, we need to look at Google as a holistic solution and not as individual products. And that we will cover in the slides to come. Moving on. So, search, displayed, shopping, YouTube, people consider these as four different platforms. But from a user standpoint, right, if I want to buy a product today, if I have seen something which has inspired me, which I saw on television, my first thing would be to look for that product on Google search, right? If that product is available and if it shows and reflects in the shopping page, I'm going to make that engagement. So the call to action is immediately engaged. Suppose I try to quit that transaction at that point of time and move to, say, one of the websites, hypothetically, say Times of India, right? Can you capture me there as well? Can you come to that platform and give me a display banner ad and try to reconnect with me, which is the remarketing strategy of the user? And eventually, there could be an opportunity where after the first search, the user moves to YouTube, or let's go reverse, right? The moment they see something on television, the first thing they would do to search is go to YouTube. And that is where your engagement on all different platforms has to be seen and developed as a holistic solution and as a holistic platform. And that is where Google will come into picture when we start engaging with Adyogi and the client we are working with. With that, I will ask Nitin to take it over. Nitin, you want to start? Nitin, I think you're on mute if I'm. We can't hear you. Maybe you just want to refresh your connection. I'll take it over once you're back. Okay, so a quick question to the audience. So we have covered most of the aspects. Any question that comes to your mind before? I mean, we'll have a definite segment for question. Any questions till now?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can.
Oh, super, super. Sorry for that, folks. So yeah, thank you, Vishal, for that quick introduction. Let me just kind of pull up my screen once again. Is my screen? Yeah.
Nitin, we can't hear you again.
Can someone present, please? If someone presents, as soon as I present, the mic goes off for some reason. Yeah, thanks, Garvit. You just hit the presentation mode, please. Okay, awesome. Thank you. So, like Vishal mentioned earlier, we have one Google, and within one Google, we have four different properties for four different needs. Search is where the intent portion lies, search and shopping. Display is where we mostly target for contextual as well as users when they're kind of in different interests. And YouTube's more of a video format where we ensure that users are being targeted via more of a look and feel medium as compared to the other mediums. So within the search, we have multiple campaigns. For within search, we have brand search, non-brand, dynamic search, and remarketing search. These are the four campaign types or sub-product types that are available. Within shopping, we have smart shopping and standard shopping. Within display, we have three different products, which is smart shopping, standard shopping, and discovery. And within YouTube, we have TrueView for reach, TrueView for action, and TrueView for shopping. In your initial phase, I mean, so if I talk about mature brands are probably present across all four properties and they are present across all four campaign types. But if you're a user or if you're an advertiser who's just started their Google Ads journey, what we recommend is to be present across these six campaign types. One is brand search in case your brands do have some kind of search volumes. We also would like to start with dynamic search ads and remarketing search ads to ensure that a user who searched for you is coming for you back again. Smart shopping so that you're able to compete in the most intent based platform that's out there. Discovery campaigns to ensure that we can leverage your social assets on YouTube as well. And then finally YouTube, where we can ensure that your messaging and your products reach out to the most relevant audiences in a video format. So that's what these six campaign types, and I'll talk about them I'll talk about them in detail in the next few slides. Next slide, please, Garvit. So first, like I said, smart shopping ads, right? And what smart shopping ads will do for you? How first of all, where do they appear? They appear right next to the search bar. So whenever you're typing for something which says maybe buy shoes, or whenever you're typing a brand which sells something, that's when our shopping ads get triggered just before the search queries are already triggered. From a campaign setup perspective, there is absolutely nothing that you need to do from a strategic perspective. There's only three things that is required. One is your merchant center feed. So you just need to upload your products on the merchant center, have those merchant center and link those to your Google Ads account. And once you link them to the Google Ads account, there's a smart shopping campaign that you can run, which will automatically trigger on the relevant keywords basis your product titles and descriptions. So there's nothing you need to do, just two things you need to make sure that you set the bid right, that, hey, this is what I'm willing to pay for every sale that happens on my website. And this is the daily budget that I have to pay for that sale. So these are the only two things you need to add. Rest the system takes care of automatically. So very highly automated. And that's what it'll kind of do. What we'd highly recommend here is to kind of ensure that so sometimes we are too close to our products as well, right? So there's always a tendency to write things which we feel are closer to us, but what we'd highly recommend here is to make sure that your feed is more or less aligned to how consumers are searching. So just an example, if you feel you have a Samsung smart TV, and there's a particular model that you're really proud of, so it's a very high chance that you'd probably put the relevant model in your title. However, we do not recommend that. So something like that, probably you'd probably have just a Samsung smart TV with maybe say 4K is the new in thing, right? That's how consumers are searching. So you'd rather put in 4K on the title rather than having the model number. So need to ensure that the feed is clean and it is exactly as what consumers are searching for. And then, like I said, the bid strategy, it's very simple. You just need to kind of share with the system what is the target ROAS or the customer acquisition cost that you expect out of this campaign. And the system will eventually figure out where to get that traffic and which people to show these ads on. Next slide, please, Gavit. What consequently happens as part of smart shopping campaigns is the system. So traditionally, I mean, people who probably used Google Ads in the past would know. Traditionally, we had two different campaigns. One used to be the standard shopping campaigns, which was more intent driven. And the second was when people would run dynamic remarketing campaigns to ensure that users that you've already acquired through your search and shopping campaigns can be remarketed. Now, with the smart shopping campaign functionality, this kind of comes together and you need to run a single campaign which will cover both of them. So like I mentioned regarding smart shopping campaign, this also takes care of the dynamic remarketing part. And the placements, where will they be placed at? They'll be placed on GDN, they'll be placed on YouTube, and they'll be placed on Gmail. So highly automated, just need bid, budget, and the feed, and rest you let Google kind of take care for you. Next slide, please, Garvit. Thank you. Uh, Second part, which is, if I ask people here, I mean, what do you think you do on YouTube, right? There's a common answer that everyone says, we watch videos on YouTube, right? If I ask from you from an advertising perspective, hey, what do you think? Can we go back, Garvit? Yeah, if I ask you, hey, what do you think YouTube is for as an advertiser? The first thing that comes to your mind is branding. That, hey, YouTube is great when I want to do a brand campaign. In the last 1 year and 1.5, 2 years, Google has taken that feedback and we have made YouTube a more shoppable property. YouTube has become a property which gives a look and feel to your consumers. It ensures that you're able to promote your products from a look and feel perspective while keeping your ROAS in mind. So after taking feedback of advertisers over a large period of time in the last 1 to 2 years, we have come up with a campaign type, which is YouTube for Action campaign, where you can actually run YouTube campaigns and the campaigns only and sole priority is to drive conversions for you. So once you kind of stick in your action campaigns, it remains all the same thing. Have your have your audience put in, have your assets put in, and then you put in a target CPA that this is my customer acquisition cost. You just put these three things and the system will find your consumer for you and give you results. So this is how you can actually leverage YouTube for action and not think you of YouTube as purely a branding product. Yes, it is a great branding product, but as a performance product, YouTube is working wonders for advertisers like yours as well. Next slide, please. Now, a natural question comes in, where and how do I find audiences, right? And that is where you can actually combine the power of two properties, right? So we already spoke about search, right? How search is, the mother of intent, so to say. Someone who's looking for something to buy something is going on search. What custom intent targeting as an audience type does for you, it helps you capture the search intent, and it helps you show ads to people who are searching for those particular search terms, but the ads are then shown on YouTube, right? So people who are probably say I'm looking for a red shoe, and then I've probably gone on YouTube to, probably watch highlights of last night's football match. That is when person is non-interested but is interested in buying a shoe, is when we go ahead and show them ads. And it's a fairly easy process. You just go ahead, you set up whatever you think are the best keywords that depict of people who are willing to buy your products. And for that, Google's also given you a tool as well. So there's a tool called Keyword Planner that's already there in your account. You can search what are the highly relevant keywords that are there for your category, and build an audience that will help you deliver results and get you sales from there. So that is how you can actually leverage YouTube. Now, how does it actually look like? What we highly recommend is it comes like this. There's a call to action of a buy now. There's a price that you can actually add, right? So it helps as a pre-qualifier for your audience, so that we understand that not everyone in the country will probably have a pocket to buy if you have like a higher value product. So ensure that you're putting your price upfront as a pre-qualifier, which will add to the ability to buy, and it will act as a call to action. This also gives signals to the system as to which consumers are the best for you and the systems to be targeting the consumers which it believes will buy and give you a sale. Next slide, please. Coming back to the display portion of it, I mean, a lot of users, a lot of advertisers, I mean, start with probably their journey on, say, Instagram or a Facebook, right? And that is also something that, you know, if I look at it, that's something that we've kind of taken as a feedback, and this is a property that's been running for almost 2 to 3 years now, and it's worked really well for clients. It's really well for advertisers. What we recommend, these are called discovery ads. Discovery ads again run on three properties. They run on the Google app, they run on the YouTube home feed, and they run on Gmail. So these are three properties where the ads are shown. In terms of the ad format, they are very similar to the ads that you kind of and the assets that you can build for Facebook and Instagram. You can run it like a single display imagery. You can run it like a carousel ad, totally up to you. And what it again, the benefits of discovery ads, they optimize for conversions. So they are all, again, geared towards driving sales for you. You combine that with the custom intent audience, which is something that we've discussed in the last slide. You add, and that this is the tricky part here. Garvit, can just go back. This is the tricky part here. We add specific product ads, right? So we don't want to spray and pray here. We add specific products or carousel of products in case you're going for prospecting customers to ensure that the right set of customers are being targeted and you're able to kind of get them on your website. So these are some of the ways you can actually have best practices to give results via discovery ads as well. Next slide, please, Garvit. So to summarize, what we recommend, a lot of this is an ask from a lot of advertisers. Hey, okay, I understand I need to do these 3, 4 things. How do I go about it, right? And so what we have in Google, we have three different layers. So one is the campaign layer, which I've already spoken about, which is a smart shopping campaign or a YouTube for action campaign or discovery campaign. Then we have something called an ad group. And then we have something which is your final, which is your ad asset, or what is actually being shown to the customer. So if I talk about smart shopping campaigns, what we recommend is to build it by category, ensure that all products of category are together. So for example, if you're an advertiser who sells probably home decor items, so probably bed as a category or linens as a category is a separate category, and you should have one smart shopping campaign for that, a second smart shopping campaign for probably table lamps, and a third probably for just for the tables as well. So ensure, and then you can have probably a final campaign which will have all other products and all other SKUs which are probably not your best selling SKUs. So this is what we recommend for this. For YouTube for action, we recommend to have audiences and categories via the intent level. So if you have an ad group which is a custom intent audience, that is a most lower intent that you can go to. Second, you can also have, so Google already has a lot of audiences right there for you to kind of use. So you can probably have, for example, if you're an apparel brand, so we have an audience list called in market for apparel. If you're a beauty brand, we have already something which is in market for beauty and personal care. So these are the audiences you can add and build your structure similar to that. What we highly recommend is to freshen up your assets. So make sure that you have at least 3 or 4 assets and ads in each ad group. That will really help you understand which are the ads that are able to convince the buyer to go ahead and make a sale on your website. So that's super critical. Discovery, again, very similar to how you would go ahead for YouTube for action. You can go ahead and use carousel ads with 5 cards, or you can also use single product image ad. Very similar to how you will be structuring your campaign. So in case it's more of a brand campaign where you're going ahead and saying that, okay, I want to explore the in-market for beauty and personal care audience. So you'd probably start with 4 or 5 beauty products that you kind of advertise with 5 cards. And then finally, you'd probably have your brand card as well. If you're advertising, if you have one product which probably does 40-50% of your sales, then what we'd recommend is you have a separate ad group for that, which will have that single product, and you have that image ads for that. So these are the structures that we kind of recommend for scaling via Google Ads. Next screen, please. So a lot of consumers, and I mean that's a question on your mind as well. I mean, what are the budgets that we can go up to? So from a share of wallet or the SOW perspective, what we recommend is for very high intent categories up to 70-80%, and I've seen advertisers with almost 90-95% of budgets as well. The high intent categories, they would spend up to 80-90% on Google, which is across search, shopping, and YouTube. While for high impulse purchases, the recommendation is around 50 to 60% on Google, which is search, shopping, and YouTube again. Uh, what is more critical here is the percentage of product will keep changing basis the amount of search queries and the amount of intent that is there for your product. So products where we have less of queries, there the percentage of YouTube in your total media mix will be a little bit higher as compared to maybe high intent queries. We would probably want to leverage the search and shopping intent that's already there on the Google platform. So that's what we kind of recommend here. Next slide. I think this is it. I think there's one case study that we had on what worked for Mondelez. Do you want to show that once? Let me just present that. Just a second.
Okay, guys, so quick context on this. We are presenting a story by one of the brands. And the idea to show this advertising or this case study is largely to let you know that, the product, the sale, the communication, every aspect of business remain on, probably one side of the pillar. However, there's something which is absolutely relevant, which you guys are actually disrupting is, creating opportunity for purposeful, engagement with the user through purposeful advertising. You're bringing a paradigm shift, and that is what this brand actually talks about. If we can play the video.
The big challenge that Cadbury faced during the lockdown was how could the brand come right in the front and make itself more visible. The other thing is really this feeling of gratitude. And we felt Diwali is such a great time for us to try and get consumers to express this gratitude. Smaller and offline retailers were really impacted. We felt that was a great opportunity where we really could do something with our brand, which is beyond just sell more of our product. Stand for something, be more purposeful.
Presenting not just a Cadbury ad. We advertised not just for ourselves, but for thousands of small businesses across India.
From there, the teams are all coming together, YouTube, Google, Ogilvy, Wavemaker, Delta X, all of them coming together to work on the idea as one team to make it happen.
The big idea was to be contextual to where you are. Why can't our advertisement be geo-targeted? So when the person sees it, it truly feels as if the video has been cut just for him or her. Otherwise, it would have just been an ad with different shops in it.
As the ad was served to an individual, an algorithm grow located the PIN code and then mapped the various local stores in that PIN code and served the one closest to the individual in real time.
Working with Google and YouTube was very important because geolocation, geo-targeting, ensuring this ad on YouTube was being watched by, say, person X in location X with a PIN code is getting served the same ad that is meant for him or her was extremely important to bring this idea alive.
To make it hyper-personalized and hyper-local, we wanted to take it to as many local stores as possible so that we had scale and we had good coverage.
When we started staggering it up and building the logistics, we realized we are talking to 1,800 local shops across 270 PIN codes across 8 cities. The YouTube team, they all came together and made this idea work. At the heart of the idea are 3 technologies, and all 3 are powered by Google. There's the Google Maps API, which helped us do the hyperlocal targeting. Then the YouTube Director Mix at the heart of it, which helped us do the dynamic creative deployment. Last being the PIN code targeting capabilities which sit within YouTube. All 3 has to come together on one single platform to make this idea happen. We didn't want to also do it at a very small scale. We didn't want to settle down to banner ads. We wanted to do it on video because that's where the emotions come out. And YouTube naturally comes in with that scale in this country to make it happen. We impacted close to around 20 million unique users in the country.
We had a 15% incremental ad recall and a 6% incremental consideration for the brand. We're usually left with inventory after Diwali. This time we had absolutely no stock left.
For me personally, the best reward was when a Cadbury shopkeeper very proudly tells me, "मेरे बगल वाला दुकान मेरे ad में है."
We ended up 30% higher than what we had anticipated, especially in traditional trade and the smaller retail. We found them to grow even further, 2x the rate of the total sales. That is great for us to come and see how ideas are combining with the right tech to really create effective campaigns that take forward not just a brand's business objective, but also takes forward its impact in overall society. YouTube was integral to make this campaign come alive. It was unique, it was personalized, and it was just right from a cultural context. I don't think this could have happened without YouTube.
All right. I think that is it from our side, Nitin.
Yes.
Thank you, Nitin. Thank you. Well, that was such an insightful session. I think we are so convinced to leverage YouTube and Google as a platform during the festive season. We also have a couple of questions from the attendees, so we're gonna take that up. And we also planned to do a fireside chat. We're gonna club both of them in the interest of time. So, a couple of questions from the attendees here. One is that is it advisable to run ads in just one platform on Google, or should I run ads on all platforms? Either of you can take this up.
I think the video previously just shown covers most of, the question answered there, but I'll let Nitin give a more technical answer.
So see, I think most of the brands here are probably D2C commerce brands, right? And if you ask me, can I do it via one platform? To sell your product, probably you're competing with 15 other brands in the market today, right? At bare minimum 10. And if you're lucky, probably 6 or 7. But that's the minimum number that you're competing with today. Now, your consumer is not spending their time on a single platform alone. They're spending their time across the journeys. They're spending their time on search. They're spending their time on YouTube. They're probably doing social as well. They're spending their time on Google search. They're reading news. They're doing so many things. The best part is almost probably 80-85% of the time they're on the internet, they are with Google. And that's why I think kind of just answers your question. We need to kind of ensure that we are present across properties. What scale that we are present with totally kind of can depend on us. I mean, how we want to kind of take it, but definitely we should be there across properties.
Got it. Thanks, Nitin. We have one more question. Is it I own both chain retail stores and an online e-commerce store. What kind of ads should I be running?
I think fantastic question. So see, totally again, I mean, if you ask us, we have solutions for both of them. But what I would want to understand is what is your priority? Is your priority your website? Is your priority your retail sales? For retail sales, we have something called as local campaigns. And that is something we've not kind of presented here, given that we only want to talk about the online sales part of it. But yes, for offline sales as well, we have multiple solutions on Google. And we'd love to kind of someday come back and take a session on what are the offline solutions that we have as well. So totally depends on your growth strategy. I mean, whoever's asked this question, if you're looking to increase your website sales, like I said, this session should be a very good primer for you to get started. In case you're looking for offline sales, definitely we can connect sometime probably offline to understand what are the solutions we have to grow your offline sales.
Got it. Thanks, Nitin. We have One more question. It is, I'm a bootstrapped startup planning to start ads on Google. Where should I start off?
Vishal, you want to take this up? You're on mute, Vishal.
Yeah, sorry for that. So it's a very good question. And, in the last 6 years with Google, I've been working with a lot of bootstrap startups in the ecosystem. And, the two factors you have to really look into are number one, what kind of segment or what kind of businesses are you getting into? So, for example, if I know that I'm an app startup which will be solving for the fintech industry versus an app startup which will be solving for, say, a shopping category, right? My strategy for advertising would be completely different. And that is where, number one, what kind of market you are getting into and some kind of vertical insight would help you decide what kind of search and user you are about to get on board when you start. And uh, can you guys hear me? Because I see a message saying no audio.
Yes, Vishal, I can hear you.
Okay. So that's one. Number two, it also depends on what kind of communication you want to reach out to the user to. And if you've seen recently, a brand called Misho, they have started with their television advertising talking about, the communication says "theek theek lagao," which means they're talking about pricing. They're talking about how women empowerment actually gets the negotiation piece into business. And then it is talking about, how that brand is relevant to some of the segments they want to reach out to versus, any other brand who would do a very similar business but might not look at video as an advertising but go for a simple plain search advertising. So your long question, long answer short, it depends on vertical which you are into, and also depends on what kind of story you have to tell to the client, and then we can actually work on our strategy with respect to the platform we choose.
Got it. There's one more very nice question here. As a new brand, what chances do I have against big brands with big budgets? Abhijit asks this question.
Could you repeat the question, please? Sorry.
Yeah. As a new brand, what chances do I have against big brands with big budgets?
I think that's a very interesting question. So see, ultimately, this is just the marketing space, right? If you are probably in the TV domain, there would be a simple answer. You'd say no, right? Because I mean, literally, to run a TV campaign, you'd need like lakhs and crores of budget. Digital media, on the other hand, gives you the advantage of showcasing your product and your ad without having any, what I would say is having scale effects, right? So for example, even if they have a 20 lakh budget, even if they have a 1 crore budget, and you have probably a 5 lakh budget, it doesn't matter, because ultimately both your ads are going to go in an auction. Whichever is the most relevant for the consumer, those are the ones that will be shown by Google. Those are going to win the auction. So the advantage you have is that you are a small business for whom every rupee matters. The advantage you have is you are someone who's out there to make sure that your business sells. And that is why we know that you will invest each and every rupee or dollar very wisely. And that will make your digital marketing more powerful than probably, a lot of brands have been able to make over the years.
Got it. In the interest of time, we have few more fireside chats which we had decided. One of which was how do we control CPC during the festive season? Would any of you want to take that up?
So I think if I kind of take that up, CPCs are, I mean, it's just the 3 Rs that we say in Google. You need to be relevant, you need to be on the right place, and you need to be on the right product, right? So The important part here, I mean, CPCs, do they rise with festive? Yes. I mean, there's no harm in admitting that, but so does the intent, right? The intent of the consumers also rises during festive. So what I would say is, rather than focus on how can I control CPCs, what I would recommend is to highly focus on more business objectives, right? Focus on what is the ROAS that I'm getting, how many orders am I getting, is my conversion rate rising with the industry? Because yes, the CPCs will rise. That is purely auction pressure. That is purely about the number of brands that are coming in the market together. But the important point to note is that the conversions also rise, the intent also rise. I mean, almost 40% to 50% of total year buying happens during these 2-3 months of sales or a festive season, as we call it. So I would say do not get bogged down by CPCs. Focus on your business goals, focus on your sales, focus on your ROAS, focus on your customer acquisition, focus on your customer lifetime value, and you won't have to worry about CPCs.
Understood. Got it. There's one last question which we are going to take, and then we are going to close the session. The question reads, we have started e-commerce of women wear, hand block print and handloom product. We are running for 5 months. We have 3x ROAS, want to grow. We have ads on Facebook and Instagram. When we scale them over, account doesn't perform. How do we scale up?
Vishal?
Sorry, I missed that question.
Yeah. We have started e-commerce for women wear, hand block print and handloom product. We are running for over 5 months now, and we have 3x ROAS. Want to grow. Whenever we run ads on Facebook and Instagram, when we scale up over account, doesn't perform. How do we scale up?
Okay, so at this point of time, I might not be able to comment on the other platforms which you are exploring, but to start with, because it is an early start and you're still into the market for last 5 months, my suggestion would be that you put your efforts largely to cover two vital aspects. Number one, can you reach out to the right set of users or right set of consumers who are actually looking at your product? And because you have a very, very niche category in terms of the product, you might not have a scale of user who are actually looking at handloom as a product. However, such users who are in the niche category, especially in the handloom space, and we have seen that with art as a category, that the users once get adopted to a brand, they stay, their LTV with that particular brand stays higher. So the balance of these two products, and this happens with the luxury segment as well, that initially you might spend high, but that is also because you're targeting a niche category. However, the LTV of that user, once you start occupying and capturing those customers, it will stay with you for a longer compared to any other category as a product. So I understand it is high, but I would like you to probably give time to get that settled. Spend some time looking at building your promotions and communications over a story. And I keep communicating this to a lot of brands who I work with. I asked them a very simple question saying, how many of you actually know Archimedes principle? How many of you actually remember Archimedes principle? I asked that question, and I typically get an answer of 1 or 2 in a room of 10. And then, I asked them the next question, which is, how many of you actually remember the crow and the stone story? Right, the rock and the crow story? And I get a much higher hands in the room saying, yeah, we know that story. And it becomes very simple, right? I mean, these two situations is a very clear cut example that things we learn or things we try to put into our head forcefully stays with us for a lesser period of time compared to a storytelling narrative where your grandmother or your mother or your father might have told you a story about uh, a crow and a stone, and you still remember it without even recalling that story again and again. So long story short, the idea is to get your story to the consumer, and if your story is relevant, it will stay with you for longer.
Got it. Thanks, Vishal. Thanks, Nitin. I think we've come to an end of the Q&A session now, and we have come to an end of the Festive Immersion Masterclass. On your screens right now, we have a special offer for all the attendees over here. We have flat 15% off on Adobe for enterprises. We have flat 50% off on Adobe for startups. You can connect with us at www.adobe.com to avail the offer. A vote of thanks again to Nitin and Vishal for finding out time and doing this with us. A vote of thanks also to the attendees over here for staying with us and asking such good questions with us. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. Thank you and good day to you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.